everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Spill the Petals. I'm Renato Cruz-Sagecco, AAF, PFCI, and I'm here with Jackie. Could you introduce yourself, Jackie?
Hey everyone, Jackie Lacey, AAF, AIFD, CFD, PFCI. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, and we have a special guest who's also a local Jacksonville native. It's Russell Townsend with DKay Wholesale. And what we're going to try to accomplish on this call is really chat with Russell, ask him some really important questions about how you as a floral retailer or a floral business could engage better with your wholesale to build your business. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good. Thank you so much for being with us, Russell.
Hey, not a problem. Glad to be here.
Why don't we start with you? Just give everyone your name and the name of the company, where you are, just some general information so that they know exactly who they're listening and seeing.
Sure. My name is Russell Townsend. If you're in Jacksonville or kind of the surrounding Northeast Florida area, we're a family-owned and operated wholesaler that has been in business for 14 years. We service Northeast Florida, South Georgia, and we've really grown our business based on customer service. My role in the company has increased. It was my parents' business, and as time's gone on, they started to retire. And now that we're entering our 15th year, we're just excited to be able to share some of the things I've learned along the way, but I'll also continue to receive feedback and see what other people are interested in learning from us and what we can do to help you guys.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and I just want to give you a shout out because DKay is my go-to wholesaler, and they do an incredible job, and customer service is one of the main strengths that they display to everyone that I talk to. So I really appreciate you guys being here. But I do want to start just saying, are you strictly just for local florists, or do you do any drop shipping for those that might be outside the area, or what size area do you basically cover?
So basically, we try to cover about a 2-hour radius of Jacksonville, maybe 2.5 hours. We don't do drop shipping. We're continuously trying to grow our service area, but we are just kind of limited based on how far we can go back and forth in a day. We just don't do drop shipping, mainly because we want to make sure we can guarantee the quality of flowers. And once the flowers leave our hands and go into maybe UPS's hands or some other service, I'm just not comfortable sending it out and going, okay, it's going to arrive to the customer in one piece. I see that with other wholesalers. They'll ship things via UPS or FedEx, and then inevitably the box gets lost, or the box arrives and it was hot, which is a major problem. Whereas I know my drivers, I know the routes, and we can plan accordingly and make sure that we're sending out a quality product every time.
Well, that's a good business motto. I mean, do what you do and do it well, and don't try to grow too far out of that pocket. So good choice there. Why don't we just start off with, 15 years is a good, long, strong business, but relatively speaking, for wholesalers, that's kind of a young business. Have you always been in this area, or what brought you specifically to this area at that time for DKay?
So us being here kind of goes back to my dad, my father, Dave, and Debbie. We moved down here in the mid 90s. He was offered a job after being a manager in Kentucky for many years, to come down here and work for what's now a competitor for us. We did that for a little while, and then eventually he just kind of looked around and said, I feel like I can do this, and I can offer something different and maybe something better, but more importantly, do it in a way that I feel comfortable doing and not have to answer to anybody. So 15 years ago, we kind of started our own wholesaler, and it was very modest and continues to be modest, but it's grown along the way. I came in I helped start the business, went off to college for a few years, came back as the business was continuing to grow, and
Hmm.
then in 2009, or no, 2012, I came on and just decided I'm going to make a run at this. Um, I wanted to see if I could help grow the business. I wanted to make sure that I give my parents an opportunity to retire and enjoy themselves. And I've I've just been doing everything I can to learn the business.
Hmm.
My dad was in it for 40 years. My mom's been in it for as long as I have, and just brought other people along for the ride. I've got a lot of friends that work here. I've got a couple family members that still work here, but I also have a lot of people that I've met along the way, that have come on either as sales reps, or they've come in and been drivers, or any sort of other thing. And it, yes, we are a young business in the grand scheme of things. There's competitors have been around 100 plus years, but
Right. Yeah.
it, old doesn't necessarily mean good, and established doesn't necessarily mean better. It just means that you've been doing it for a while.
That's a great, rich history, even for 15 years. But one thing that we definitely want to ask you about, the industry has changed a lot in the last 15 years. Have you seen your client base change, from one segment growing to another one declining over the last 15 years, or, changes like that?
Sure. I think one of the big things that I saw initially was we started in 2009. Terrible time to start a business, but we started a business in 2009, and had to learn to be frugal during those years.
Mhm.
And when I started in the business, there was a lot of brick and mortar stores. There was the occasional wedding specialist or the occasional event person, but for the most part, everything was going through a brick and mortar store. Um, as time's gone on, I've really started to notice people shift away from a specific retail model.
Mhm.
Not that there's not space for that, but uh, it's almost like there's more specialized areas within the industry. So if you're a retailer, you might do day-to-day arrangements 75% of the time, and then only do 15, 20% um, events, weddings, things like that. And the flip side is I have a ton of clients that all they do are weddings. Uh, they don't own a brick and mortar store. They have an office where they meet clients, and then they rent either a small warehouse or they rent space from me on an event by event basis. And they come in and they work out of my store
I see.
as a
Hmm.
as a sublet
Hmm.
to and and that's how they grow their business.
So,
And seeing that, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. That's very fascinating to me, because are you seeing, say, that customer like on a weekly basis during like heavy wedding season? I mean, are they that busy, do you find, or is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
uh, absolutely. And so we all know, being in the business for many years, that the flower business is cyclical, especially in Northeast Florida. We tend to see a pretty strong lull in the middle of the summer when it's too hot to get married outside or where it's kind of uncomfortable. And then we see very strong wedding seasons from September to November. And then December is a lull around the holidays. And then February through June, another strong wedding season. So I'll have 4 to 5 florists renting space from me during the strong wedding seasons. And then I might have no florists renting from me in the middle of July. Uh, but what I do see is return people.
Mhm.
So I have 2 monthly rentals, and then I have several people that might work 2 to 3 weekends a month, and they seem to really, I think they find the most benefit by having a space that they're not obligated to 12 months of the year, 52 weeks of the year. They find the benefit of being able to rent weekly as needed, and seem to be growing their business that way.
Well, I mean, it's a great benefit to them as well to not have that, to have cooler space available, to have space outside your home, because the downside to working at home is you can't get away from it, and you don't always want to have client meetings in your home. That's your personal space, and you may have children and things like that. So, it seems like having that workspace and the cooler space available to them would be an incredible benefit.
Absolutely, and that's what we try to offer is something
Looking
that
at your
can
client
benefit
base in
people.
general, what percentage would you say the retail florist fall into? Like, are they 20%, 30%? Just we're trying to see how that has changed over, especially the past few years.
So when we started, I would say we probably were 80/20, 80/20, 80% towards a retail florist, 20% towards event specialists. I've really started to see that shift maybe more towards 60/40.
Mm.
60% of our business is going to be more of the retail florist, and 40% is the event work. I mean, and as our business has grown, that's a really large amount of dollars flowing through the event economy.
Right, and also too, looking at that same framework, are you seeing variants of that? Um, uh, you know, Not really. I want to say outside the retail floral area, where not just event specialists, but then we do have, online sales, or some. I see some people that are selling Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays only. There's a lot of different business models that are
Hmm.
falling into the floral industry now. Are you seeing those as well?
Sure. When I first started, uh, we didn't have a lot of uh, home retailers, people that were delivering arrangements from home on a daily basis. And I've seen that start to show up. Retail space is expensive. And to be able to do day-to-day arrangements and keep the price point competitive and be able to send something out where everybody gets to make a little, um, you have to really monitor your overhead. And one of the ways people have limited that is saying, hey, I have this garage I'm not using. Maybe I'll put a small cooler in here and I'll be able to do arrangements out of that. And it's been great. I have some great clients that do that. And 10, 15 years ago, people would have kind of turned their nose up at it, but now people are just figuring out a way to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I was just going to say that, when I had retail shops 20 years ago, someone working from home, we had a special name for those kinds of people, and they were kind of shunned and kept outside of the industry. Whereas now it's very acceptable, and not in a derogatory way, because so many people are working from home or a small office space as opposed to a retail space.
Absolutely.
Russell, I just wanted to shift gears here a little bit. Um, and let's just be honest about the business. A majority of the flowers sold at retail happens at grocery stores, big boxes, mass, like the mass market, like we'll call them. Um,
Hmm.
and we've been privy to conversations with some national wholesalers where they feel that they're actually competing, in terms of getting product with the mass marketers who now have direct channels with the growers in South America and elsewhere. But also, they're now verified reports that they own farms too. So do you
Sure.
feel that there's like a competitive pressure coming from that uh, that segment of mass that is taking a lot of the flowers um, and business from the growers in South America and Ecuador and elsewhere?
I've seen that and I've felt that,
Hmm.
particularly around the major floral holidays. You'll see the things that are hot get soaked up into the into that general mass market economy. But what's important and what we've really specialized and kind of uh, really worked towards is developing a 52-week relationship with our wholesalers, with the farms and the importers, and then uh, I don't beat people up on pricing. I know that's probably a doesn't sound business savvy, but I know who I want to deal with. I respect that they need to make money. They respect that I need to make money, And they know that we're going to take care of each other. I'm going to pay my bill on time. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the relationship I have with them, they're going to come to me and go, you know what, DK, we've got all these flowers that need to go off to a mass retailer, but I really need to take care of DK. They might only have 50 boxes, but let's take care of those 50 boxes for them first, or make sure we quarter those off, and then we'll do the rest to mass market.
That's interesting that you say that because, in the same conversations, um, I do get a sense that there's a lot of, deep respect for the business. And, a lot of folks in this business have been in this business
Hmm.
for a very long time, and they want to continue being in this business for a very long time. So everyone definitely collaborates and makes sure that, that everyone's successful. So that's good to hear.
Sure.
Yeah.
Swinging it back to the retailer, what are some of the challenges that you find dealing with the retail florist? And what would be some of the recommendations from you to those retailers on how to build a better relationship with their local wholesale?
Uh, it's one of the bigger challenges I see with retailers is them not trying to have a relationship. You know, if you want to go and save pennies everywhere,
Mhm.
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that if that's the way that you need to make your money. But it makes it difficult on my side when I know that the only reason you're coming to me is you can't find it anywhere else. That where um, what makes what makes our store unique in our area is we carry inventory every day. We carry a large amount of inventory every day. You can call us and get a lot of things. Um, there, but that comes with a cost. Like there's flowers that get thrown out. It's just the nature of the beast. You don't want to be sending out old flowers as much as possible. So I'll have people call and say, "Well, I can get it for this price." I'm sorry. Sometimes uh, it's not all about pricing. Maybe it's quality. We try to buy a higher quality flower than try and get the cheapest quality flower. It's understanding that is what's going on. That we're actually working in your best interest all of the time. Because without a retailer, without a customer, I have no purpose. So if I'm here and I'm able to do my side of the business well, then let's make sure that we understand that we're both in this to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, I feel like that tends to be one of the challenges. And then the other part of it is let's both be understanding. I understand that sometimes I'm going to send something out bad. It's just things get out of here. You have inexperienced people that are maybe packing and pulling just because we're in a warehouse. Um, and y let's not get upset about something being bad. Let's give us an opportunity to correct it because it's an educational opportunity for the person that's working in on my side, but it's also um, an opportunity for us just to make sure that we're communicating back and forth and I know that you know people that want to keep, oh, I didn't want to tell you that it was bad. Well, I want to know it's bad. Maybe it's a brand new box that came in bad, and I needed to go check it. There's nothing wrong with that, and let's just present that information in a respectful way. There's nothing wrong with that.
So really, frank, honest communication is what's really
Absolutely.
needed. Yeah.
There's a current trend in buying local
Hmm.
and sustainable, and we're seeing a lot of or hearing a lot of these buzzwords. Are you seeing or trying to buy more local flowers, or are you seeing that part of the industry change at all?
I've seen it shipped a lot, and even just the past like 3 years. We've seen a lot of small little flower farmers pop up and the region, and they'll grow things that are specialty things like dahlias and cosmos and just really cool things that maybe don't ship well or
So sorry,
would
when
be
you say the
prohibitively.
region, like here in Florida, Georgia.
Yeah, Northeast Florida, South Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Okay, gotcha.
and so one of the things that I've done is reach out to some of these flower farmers and say, hey, why don't we partner? And just recently, I became kind of like the exclusive outlet for one of the flower farmers in the area. And so she said, hey, I'd rather just send it all to you. and you distribute it because that's what we do. We're a distributor. And so now I'm able to offer, hey, yes, I carry the same alströmerias and roses and the Dutch product, and but I also have these local items, some zinnias. So I've had the coolest looking cosmos from this girl, um, and she's just grown a tremendous amount of really different product. And I like to be able to carry it because it's something exciting, it's different, it's new, but it's also um, that trend towards local and taking care of the community that's around you. I appreciate all of the retailers that support us and spend their money with a small business. Even in the floral sense, we're a very small business, 22 employees. Um, but I also appreciate being able to support a local flower farmer and make sure that she's able to continue to do one of her passions and help spread that around.
Well, and I think I actually purchased some of that product just in the last couple of weeks from that particular farm, red dogwood and some of the cosmos. And they lasted about 9 days, which is incredible for Cosmo because
Hmm.
they're a little bit more delicate and they do not ship.
Absolutely.
So getting something
No.
local and having it last longer, is great, not just for the business, but also for the consumer.
Absolutely. And that's another thing you want to do is make sure you're getting something to the consumer that's got long base life. So, uh, and whether it be something local or making sure you're getting fresh product, that's that's another thing that we want to continue to do as an industry is making sure that when people are getting value, they're going to return. So if they're getting something that's lasting 10 days,
Mhm.
like you said, or whether it be from a local farm or somewhere else, that's a huge deal.
Huge.
Um, uh, and not to go too far off topic, but I'm sure we hear all the time, I don't like flowers because they don't last. Well, what is don't last? Um, you don't like, because if you go out to eat, you'll spend $150 and not think twice about it.
Mhm.
But if you go out and buy a flower arrangement that you can sit on a table, you can enjoy, people are going to come over and enjoy for multiple days. That's the same thing.
Right.
It's just about perspective.
So, Russell, we appreciate your time. So, one last question for you, and this is just something recent, but with the economic slowdown, we're hearing lots of reports about wholesalers being oversupplied and having, hard goods in particular, just sitting
Hmm.
on the shelf. Um, could you confirm or have any provide any insight into that? What's going on there?
I've noticed that hard goods have slowed down a little bit. During the pandemic, during the height of the pandemic, it was hard to get things. I think maybe what happened is uh, business wise, everyone said, "Oh, it's hard to get. That means it must be in demand. Let's order a whole lot more." Well, then uh,
I see.
the backup clears out, and all of a sudden you're getting a truck every day. And now all of a sudden you've gone from what you would normally twice as much as you would normally backstock in your store, going, now I need a home for these things.
Mm.
So, um, is it necessarily tied to the economics, or is it tied to the way that shipping and production catching up to where we were demanding it? It's probably a little bit of both. Um, I I'm not particularly worried about it. I mean,
Mhm.
an economic slowdown is apparently looming. That's what all reports say, but it you can prepare appropriately. You just don't overextend yourself. You make sure that you have the ability to shift your business as it comes.
Sounds like really good advice. Is there any last thoughts that you'd like to share with listeners or viewers on, again, building a better relationship with your local wholesale?
Uh, the only advice I have is go in and see them. I know it's for some people it might be a drive. It doesn't have to be every week. It doesn't have to be every month. But once a year, if they're having an open house or if you have the opportunity, maybe you're in the neighborhood, just pop in, say hey, and vice versa. As a wholesaler, I know I need to go out and meet my customers. I need to go out and put a face to a name on both sides. But there's going in and seeing in the store, especially because our business is over the phone. It's changed a lot being able to send text messages and video and all this other stuff. But having a face, having a conversation, and really humanizing the relationship will go a long way in a mutual respect and understanding and making sure everybody's working together because we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. And I know, really and truthfully, I love my job. I like what I do, and I want to make sure that it works both ways.
Well, that's great advice because it's very true. You're trying to make your customer happy, which is the retailer trying to make the consumer happy. So we're all in this together. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Russell, for joining us today and sharing your insight and thoughts. Russell Townsend, DKay Wholesale here in Jacksonville, Florida. We'll put the information up if you want to reach out to him. I appreciate everything you do for us here at Floriology. Um,
Absolutely.
Big DKay fan, you know that, and again, appreciate you being with us. Any last information you need to share, Renato?
Yeah, well, Russell, like Jackie, thank you so much for your time. And if you want to subscribe to this podcast, please visit Apple Podcasts and subscribe there. But you could always catch this podcast on the Floriology Institute YouTube channel, and we also broadcast this on our Facebook page. So thank you so much for joining us, and Russell, thank you again. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you around since we're all locals here.
That's right. And
Yeah, absolutely.
remember, there's no use crying over spilled petals.